How do you compare Taiwan's digital experimentation landscape to New Zealand?
I think both countries are mature in their own sense. So New Zealand are probably more mature in terms of strategies, experimentation. In Taiwan, they're quite the expert in automation and advertising. Businesses, they want to put all the information on page, the material, the price, original price, discount, they chuck all the information on page. But what they don't realize is when users see that much information, they'll freak out or be too lazy to read through it. Back in COVID time, a lot of businesses moved purely online. And now that people are, start traveling again, people do research online and maybe do the actual purchase in store. I see that's the next sector, and CRO obviously needs to be part of this as well. The culture in Taiwan tends to be like one person have multiple responsibilities. It's very tiring, but on the other hand, it's very useful. Just imagine if a UX designer can also do data analysis. That speeds up the experimentation process a lot.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the VWO Podcast. Recognized as a finalist in the CMA Awards 2025 for Best B2B Podcast. With hours of in-depth conversations, we talk about using CRO to deliver what your users want, while also driving long-term growth for your business. Before we speak to our guest, here's a very quick overview of what we do. VWO is a leading experience optimization platform that enables you to gather in-depth user insights and build winning experiences across your website and mobile app. VWO Copilot, our AI champion, handles the heavy lifting of suggesting test ideas, creating variations, and finding insights, so you can focus on making strategic decisions that drive growth. Now, without further delay, let's jump right back to this conversation.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the VWO Podcast where insights meet impact. Whether you're walking your dog, stuck in the traffic, or multitasking like a pro, we are glad you're here. In today's episode, we are joined by April Hung, who is a digital consultant with over 6 years of experience in digital marketing, CRO, and digital analytics. And she began her journey in New Zealand's media industry, where she led data driven strategies for one of the country's largest entertainment groups. And now she's based in Taiwan. She runs her own consultancy, which is For Digital, which helps brands turn insights into action and create more meaningful digital experiences. April brings a very fresh, real world view of what it takes to build a testing culture, especially, in markets where CRO is still evolving. And in this episode, she shares how she ties data and marketing together, the nuances of working across APAC, and what businesses can do today to start making better and faster digital decisions. So let's dive in. Hi, April. Welcome to the VWO podcast. How are you doing today?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Right. I wanted to
Mhm.
start the conversation by understanding a little bit about your childhood. What did you think you would grow up to be when you were a kid, and how close or far is that from what you're doing today?
I guess my childhood's quite interesting. So my family moved to New Zealand when I was 4. And then right until I was about to start primary, so I think it's elementary in the States, they sent me back to Taiwan because they wanted me to learn Chinese, which I'm very glad they made that decision. So after spending 6 years learning Chinese in Taiwan, I moved back again to New Zealand, and then I studied from high school, junior high school, uni, right till last year when I decided to move back to Taiwan again. So my childhood and my life been traveling back and forth to two countries, and yeah, I guess the culture part really impacted me a lot. Having spending early childhood in New Zealand and then back to Taiwan where the market or the environment more competitive, and then back to New Zealand, which is super chill. So I think I got that quite interesting mix of being competitive and being relaxed at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my background really, just traveling between the two countries.
Interesting. On a related note, right, your journey reminds me of the phrase geographies change, but instincts persist. right? You've had a unique journey from analytics and optimization in New Zealand media to building your own agency in Taiwan. Help me understand what key mindset or the skill sets from your New Zealand experience have shaped your approach to digital marketing now in Asia.
That's a really interesting question. So I guess I'll start with sharing my own experience from working in New Zealand in the past 5, 6 years. So I don't know if you know, New Zealand is actually rated as one of the top countries to work in because work-life balance is something that everyone cares so much about. And from my own experience, I can validate that too. Like it's such a wonderful workplace environment. Like people care about each other so much, and they want you to take risks, not always working. And from all the companies I've worked in New Zealand, they all have one thing in common, and that is they're very um, encourage they encourage people to raise their thoughts, raise any questions, and I think that make a big impact of how the team work together, the synergies, and how we can tackle problems together. And that is something I don't see as much in Taiwan. And I guess that's because people that's so busy all the time, they don't really have the capacity to do that. They just want to get tasks done after another. So I kind of brought that mindset of, always ask questions, always take the time to think about problems before solving. So I kind of brought that mindset to Taiwan. So when I work with clients, my first initial conversation always start with, hey, what's the problem that you're facing right now? And why do you think that's a problem? And tell me more about your business. Because often not, they think they know the problem, but often the problem they think it's a problem is not the main cause.
Mm.
So yeah, so I kind of brought that mindset of ask questions, really understand the big picture before diving right into the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I agree to some extent. New Zealand is a very mature digital market, and Taiwan is an emerging digital market.
Hmm.
Having worked, with clients across both the regions, how do you compare Taiwan's, digital experimentation landscape to New Zealand? Like, what factors do you feel stand out the most?
I would say like I think both countries are mature in their own sense. So New Zealand are probably more mature in terms of strategies, experimentation, and Taiwan is they're quite the expert in advertising. I would say like automation and advertising. So they're good at what they're good at in different parts. And the culture in Taiwan tends to be like one person have multiple responsibilities. As an example, when I was working as a marketing manager for a company in Taiwan, I have to look after SEO, analytics, content marketing, online events, offline events, and that's a lot of work for one person. But that tends to be the the norm in Taiwan. So everyone is expected to do a lot of things, which I think is very tiring. But on the other hand, it's very useful when it comes to experimentation. Just imagine if a UX designer can also do data analysis, or if a data analyst happens to have the skill to do front end editing. That speeds up the experimentation process a lot.
Yeah.
So I think Taiwan's definitely good at what it's good at the moment, advertising. But once it starts incorporating CRO or experimentation as part of the business process, is going to make a big impact just because of the structure and the culture that everyone can do a lot of things at the same time. So, yeah, it reduces a lot of wait time and it speeds up the process.
Yeah, I really loved your answer that both of the regions are mature in their own way.
Mm.
Help me understand, April. In Taiwan, what industries do you feel are already embracing, let's say, structured CRO testing? And which sectors do you, from your experience, feel or you see as the next major frontier for CRO?
I don't think there's particularly any sector that's already mature in CRO, but I would say a lot of e-commerce businesses they're willing to try it out. So there are, already a few big ones that's starting to test out CRO and the whole process of how do we analyze data, how do we make hypotheses. And I do see the trends of a lot of businesses that operate both offline and online starting to try out this as well. And I think it's a lot to do with, back in COVID time, a lot of businesses moved purely online. And now that people are, started traveling again, we like to go out again, a lot of offline businesses are starting to open up again. So I think we'll move back to the bricks and mortar model, but where people do research online and maybe do the actual purchase in store. Um, and I think CRO plays an interesting role in models like this because now we need to pay even more attention to understand why people come to our site, how do we retain them, and how do we have a proper process in place so we guide them through each process so they end up in our physical store.
Hmm.
And I see that's the next sector, businesses who operate offline and online to be the mixed majority of the market. And CRO obviously needs to be part of this as well.
Yeah. I believe best experiments, don't confirm what you already know. They challenge what you assume, right? And I've always believed that A/B testing is 80% mindset.
Yeah.
Uh, and also, you have hosted, events and you've built courses to raise CRO awareness in Taiwan. Help me
Mhm.
understand, what do you think are the biggest psychological, or let's say organizational blockers to A/B testing?
I think this is very just to do with they don't know what it is. It's simple as that. No one really talked about it before. The reason why I started this course is I started a CRO course in Taiwan is because I actually looked online and be like, where is anyone looking for CRO specialists? What is CRO? And I found out there was barely any information online. And that's why I started the CRO course. So I think the first problem is people don't know what it is. And second of all is people, when they don't know, people are scared to invest in it.
Yeah.
Because obviously you need people to look after it, you need money you need tools. And people are just not willing to invest when they don't know what it is. So I think the biggest block is not knowing what it is and not knowing what values it can bring to the business.
Right. Yeah, you can't optimize what you have not deeply understood, right? And testing without user backed insight is like shooting in the dark, also.
Hmm.
Well, in the arc of your experience, how have you approached qualitative analysis, and how do you bring in, quantitative data to support it?
I think qualitative is always an interesting one. So from my own experiences, I've tried customer interviews, um, and everyone knows surveys, email surveys, and they all have these pros and cons to it. So customer interviews obviously it's more expensive. Like you need a proper interviewer, and you need to find users to do interviews. So it's more time consuming and it costs more. And email survey is another one that people are probably doing, and that's we have two challenges with that. One is response rate; it's usually quite low, and it also costs money too, and less than customer interviews, but you still need to put some budget into the emailing tools. And thirdly, is what I use the most is online survey. I like it because it's real time. So when users is encountering an issue online, they can send a survey or a message straight away. So it's in real time and it's relatively cheaper than other tools. So that's kind of the three ways I've tried to collect qualitative data, and the best one I like is online survey. And as to how I bring quantitative data to support it, I think it's interesting because for example, look at heat map.
Yeah.
You can look at the scroll, you can look at where people click the most. And usually I will compare that to data in GA4. So if you see a lot of red dots on the heat map, usually means there'll be more clicks events on that particular area. So I will look at heat map and then look at GA4 data to see if it match up.
Right.
So that's how I bring to support that. But I think that online survey is also a good way. And quantitative data that you can use, customer satisfaction score. You can use that to quantify people's satisfaction as well. So I think there are a lot of ways to bridge that gap, and they go hands in hand. So you need both to support your hypothesis.
That's a very interesting take. I really like the way you have approached. So, in your opinion, April, help me understand what sort of experiments have had the biggest,
Hmm.
strategic impact on your recent work?
Okay, so I actually spent some time thinking about this, and I found a one common theme. It's less means more. So that's a concept that I've been trying out, and it's been working quite well for me. Is whenever I try to design a new page, a new section, often than not, when I try to make it cleaner or to make it less clutter, the conversion's always better.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's important to businesses because a lot of time they want to put all the information on page and think that users need to understand their product, so they put to the color, the material, the price, original price, discount. They chuck all the information on the page, but what they don't realize is when users see that much information, often they'll freak out or be too lazy to read through it. So the common thing I've been seeing with my strategy recently that's been working well is um, less is better. So I
Let's
try to minimize, yeah, like visually, it's just cleaner and people are just more willing to actually, stay on your page to understand your product.
Yeah, yeah. Leaner information gets more attention. That's so
Yeah,
correct. So on point, right?
yeah.
April, East Asia, as we all know, that it's dominated by, WeChat and Line, and obviously
Mhm.
WhatsApp is not that dominant here. From your perspective, how should, CRO frameworks adapt for these in-app journeys that never hit a traditional web checkout?
I think app is an interesting one because it's kind of a different audience group, right? When you are on the app already, that means you are already engaged with the brand. Otherwise, you wouldn't have downloaded the app in the first place. So we need to think about a different approach to optimize app. So they are not people who just randomly arrive on a website. They're people who already know you, already know your brand, and is willing to download your apps on their mobile phone.
Yeah,
For someone like me, I don't like downloading apps. So if I have certain companies' app on my phone, that means they are important to me. Um, so yeah, when optimizing apps like that, we need to think about why are they here? How do we make them stay and do the next step? So the concept is different, the mindset is different, and we need to think more about how do we keep them engaged.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Also, these days, compliance has become so important for any
Mm,
company who is out there. And when it comes to user research and testing, especially in Taiwan, what is your take? How does the Personal Data Protection Act, affect getting any user consent, or even storing the data or sending it out outside the country?
mm. I think data privacy is like a common concern across the globe that everyone is struggling with the issue, and I've heard that people are already seeing a big reduction in GA4 data or usable data, and I don't think that's something we can do about it because it's people want their data to be protected. We can't just breach them and try to get data out of them.
Yeah.
Um, Instead, we can think of other ways to collect data, and I think one of the most important one is get first party data. So that's set up a good CRM, get consent when people register to be a member or any sort of membership on your website, and try to collect their data. It could be gender, it could be their brand preferences. Yeah, think of other ways to collect customer data and just make sure that they are aware that their data is being used, but won't be showed to other people or just be used for purely marketing purposes. And I think that's just the way it is. We just need to think of other ways to collect data,
Hmm.
and make sure that they're all protected and users are aware of what they're being used for.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. And what does like a typical starter tech stack look like in Taiwanese companies?
GA4 is definitely something that everyone has, and it's integrated with a lot of the website platform as well. So one brand that Taiwanese use a lot is called Shopline.
Mm-hmm.
So when you build your website on Shopline, you can already integrate your GA4 ID and events within the Shopline platform. So GA4 is definitely something that everyone uses. Still, the majority of the people that use, and GTM to set up tracking. And a lot of people are starting to use heat maps now. So I think that's something that, yeah, I think it's a good thing that everyone's noticed is realizing, hey, we actually need to see how people are interacting with our website.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and for CRO as well, it's something I'm trying to encourage people to use. Because it's you don't need coding skills to make tests anymore. So yeah, I would say the basic tech stack would be having J4 integration. That's number one. Everyone needs that, and GTM and heat maps. Yeah, those are probably the three big ones.
Okay, that's an interesting insight. I think GA4 is pretty much common across the globe, which is good to know that even Taiwanese have inculcated, the tech stack with GA4 also.
Yeah.
But having said that, I mean, while talking about tech stack, it clicked my mind that we are living in an AI-driven era,
Mhm.
and the lines between the automation and intuition are now blurring so fast, right? And
Yeah.
for sure, AI can accelerate, the how, but the real question is whether it's helping us ask better whys. From
Mm.
your perspective, April, uh, do AI tools play a role in your day-to-day experiments today?
I it does, and it helped me a lot with the technical part. So that's probably the how, and I think a lot of the why parts, uh, I still need to do most of the job. um, I don't think AI has caught up yet. Maybe in a few years, or maybe next year. I don't know. But I think a lot of the strategy planning, a lot of the user psychology part, it still requires human and experiences to make that happen. But AI plays a big role in my day to day, work life in terms of coding. So if I want to make a change on website, and that's not as simple as just changing color. I usually ask AI, say, hey, I want this website to have this special section, and can you give me a HTML structure for me to play with? Simple as that. I don't need to, learn how to write JavaScript, HTML.
Hmm.
AI will provide it for me. So we kind of work like partners. I think about, I plan for the strategies, and AI code it for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, AI is information out, right? It still cannot replace the human mind, but it surely can be a fabulous facilitator for our
Yeah.
day-to-day
Definitely.
experiments and even cause. But let's
Mm.
imagine this, April. Let's imagine it's 2035 and Taiwan hosts Asia's biggest experimentation summit. uh, you tell me, like, what three milestones between now and then must be achieved to demonstrate that Taiwan is a CRO powerhouse? I'm sure that's a dream.
Three milestone. I think the big one would be actually, everyone needs to know what it is, and it needs to be as common as people knowing that I need to invest in Google Ads and Meta to get traffic. We need to have that same knowledge for CRO. Like people need to know I need to invest in experimentations in order to drive my business and my conversion. So that's probably the first thing. And secondly, is people need to get their hands in the tool and actually start using it and start actually testing. Because I think right now some people know CRO, but they've never tried it. They know the concept, but they've never actually put their hands on the tool, use it. And I think that's the second milestone it needs to reach is people need to start using it. And probably the last one, when people start using it, they will be more creative about it, and they'll probably come up with their own innovation. And that's kind of how AI will start, isn't it? Like people will start using a certain machine and they think, oh, this is too slow, so they invent their own machine. And I think that's how technology works as well. So once people start using CRO tools, or they're more familiar with experimentation, they will probably invent something better.
Hmm.
And I believe with Taiwanese people are usually quite techy. They work with technologies, so I'm sure they will invent something incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, 3 milestone, but we all got to start with the first step is to promote experimentation and educate people what value it brings to the business.
100%, for sure.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. I mean, really great insight that you've given me about the Taiwan industry altogether and where the CRO stands right now when it comes to Taiwan, or even Pan Asia market in general, right?
Yeah.
Time to switch gears for a rapid fire round. Quick questions, short answers. Are you ready?
I'm nervous, but okay, I'm ready.
All right. If you were starting a career in CRO today, what is the one thing that you would do differently?
Ooh, starting a CRO career, one thing I'll do differently. Um, I will make it more fun.
Nice. One thing your non-industry friends still don't understand about your job.
So I can repeat that again.
One thing your non-industry friends still don't understand about your job.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of them still don't understand what I'm doing. Even my parents. They always like when relative asks them, "Hey, what does your daughter do?"
Hmm.
And back then they would say, "Oh, she worked with computers." And then I was like, "No, I mean, I need computer to work, but I don't work with computers. I don't build computers. I'm not in IT." But I think they slowly understand what I do now. Now, when people ask them, they will be like, "Oh, she design websites," which is slightly closer to what I actually do. So I will see that as an improvement.
Right. What's your go-to travel destination?
It's hard. I'm traveling to Turkey in next month, so I'll say Turkey.
Okay, nice. If not CRO, what other profession you would have chosen?
Personal trainer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And a goal you want to achieve in the next 3 years?
Um, expand my consultancy and just be a better and a more helpful person.
Okay, that's amazing. Well, that was fun, April, and thank you so much for being such a sport, right? And I also understand and I agree to most of what you have said. The most dangerous assumption is in digital is that people believe what worked last quarter still works today, right? And if people start understanding that experiments are only to give you unbiased data so that you can optimize your website, bring in more revenue,
Yeah.
that would surely help make the digital landscape even better. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time, and I look forward to having such more conversations in the coming future.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed our session. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. You take care. Bye.